Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Gojo, and I'm your friendly neighborhood anime and manga fan. I love all things anime and all things manga, and I'm here today to talk about My Dress Up Darling chapter 95. So, what did I think about this week's chapter? In all honesty, I think this week's chapter was terrific. I think this week's chapter was, very crucial, not only for developing, what's to come in the later half of the story, but also it was a crucial moment for Gojo as a character because we get to see a lot of development with him, as well as we get to see finally, the culmination of everything he has been working, non-stop for since the beginning of this arc, which is finally completing the Haniel cosplay, which, for Gojo, it was a big moment, and I think that this chapter executed, the payoff tremendously. Now, before we go any further with this week's chapter, I just wanted to give you guys a quick reminder to make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you guys can be up to date with all my Dress Up Darling, as well as all my anime and manga content that I'll be providing in this channel. It really helps out a lot, and I would really appreciate it if you guys could subscribe to my YouTube channel. So if you guys could, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into this week's chapter. Now, this week's chapter picks up in a pretty interesting way, which is, we cut back to Haniel once again, and we get to see a little bit more of her lore when it comes to, the character as a whole. And we see pretty much, Gojo reading into it. He's reading this book, and we get to see some context of, Haniel, and how she's like, this beautiful goddess to the people, but she looks at everybody like scum, and she made humans like into these creepy looking bald things, and it's a lot of like twisted stuff, a lot of like dark horror Lovecraftian elements to it. And we eventually see that as they keep continuing to describe Haniel, we see that as the people look up to her, she just kind of like smiles down upon them like with this sinister smile. And I think the way that Fukuda drew this panel was exceptional because it really focused on just how twisted and demented this character of Haniel is, at least from what we've seen so far in the story, how she's kind of demented and twisted, and I really dig that. Now, as the chapter continues, we see that Gojo actually finally received the fabric that he's been waiting for, the one that he's been searching non-stop for. He finally got the black fabric that he's been looking for, and we see that he's very happy about it. He's very excited. He's just like, finally I can start putting the finishing touches to this. And we see that pretty much how it all came to be is because I guess he bought it online, and it was someone else's kimono or whatever, and it was the particular fabric that Gojo needed. And he's messaging this person, and this person is being really nice to Gojo. And I think a nice funny little throwback gag was that the fact that the person selling this thing to Gojo also thought that Gojo was a female because of Gojo's username, which I thought that was hysterical, because this is a nice little throwback to Akira, how Akira thought that Gojo was actually a girl before meeting in real life. So I think this is just funny how even up to this point in the story, we still get little jokes like that where Gojo, he's still clickbaiting people, making them think that he's a female just from the usernames. And the funniest part to me about the whole situation was the fact that even Gojo's a little bit self-aware, because even he's like, oh, you know what, yeah, I maybe should change my username. Is it that clickbaity? So I thought that was a little funny. But continuing with that, we see that Gojo, he's excited. He finally gets to finish this fabric and complete the costume, because that's the one thing he's been looking forward to. And as he's like thinking about this cosplay as a whole, he starts like imagining Haniel, and he's like, am I getting crazy, or like, because I'm not following everything to a T. I'm doing my own spin to this character when it comes to this cosplay, and why not? So like, am I losing it? Like like this has been a lot of hard work, and I just feel like like it might be coming crazy. And you just see like a panel where Gojo's like thinking about Haniel, and as he continues thinking about Haniel, he's like, what, this is all seems so familiar. And then we see this panel where Gojo just continues to think about Haniel, and eventually you see this image of Haniel like literally behind Gojo. And it's I think this was a stellar panel. I think that the way Fukuda illustrated this was fantastic, and it's actually one of my favorite panels, I think, in the story so far, because it was just beautiful. It looks really cool. I love Haniel's essence in the background, just like very sinister, and Gojo seems like out of it. I think the way that this panel was handled, I think it was fantastic. And what we see after that is that pretty much Gojo, he's tired. Like, he just does an all-nighter, because what happens is, as he keeps thinking about Haniel, he's like, what, I could do a little bit more tweaking, like especially like to this section of the corset. I could do a little tweaking on that. And throughout it all, while Gojo kept like making little changes to the costume, I started thinking in the back of my head, like, this whole situation reminds me of Shizuku-tan, where Gojo did an all-nighter, because this is pretty much what he does with the Haniel. He does an all-nighter, and literally the next day is the convention, just like Shizuku. and we see that even he gets so tired to the point that, you know, my man looks out of it. Like, my man is exhausted, and even he's like, you know, I haven't taken a shower. Is like, I should take a shower. And then he just like lays on the floor, is like, I'm too tired, I can't even get up. Too late for that. So, you know, Gojo really gave it his all, and it really shows, because like I said, you know, he did an all-nighter just to make sure everything was perfect, because now it's showtime. Because the next day, guess what, it's the comet, and you know, that's the big, you know, festival that, you know, that's what he's been working for, you know, this entire time. So he's really trying to put every little minuscule detail to make sure that it's perfect, you know, for the day. And what ends up happening is, you know, as he's laying on the floor, we see that, you know, he eventually does text Marin, like a good night text, and he's like, listen, it's done, I finally finished, I'm gonna sleep. So once again, you know, the paralleling to the Chizuku-tan. And that's pretty much how the chapter ends, where we see, you know, just the text, as well as you see a little text in the panel where it says, you know, the cosplay's finally finished. So definitely in the next chapter, I would like to think that we're finally going to see Marin, you know, wear the Hanio cosplay, as well as how Gojo, you know, he put his own little own spin to the cosplay, because that's the one thing that I'm very fascinated about, which is how did Gojo tweak and make his little, you know, interpretation of the character. Because we do know that you know, the author of the Hanio and why not, he's a big, like, you know, kind of self-centered jerk, as well as we know that this guy is a big, you know, ego maniac. So I'm very curious to see just if they were to meet the guy, how would he react towards, you know, seeing this cosplay. Would he, you know, just snap and just be like, why would you tarnish my legacy with this terrible display of this girl trying to dress as my character? Like, how dare you? Or would he be like shocked? Because the one thing that Fukuda has constantly been, you know, great at executing has been, you know, just completely, you know, blowing us away with, you know, subverting our expectations. You know, we think that the story is going to go this way, guess what, it's not. We think this character is going to act like this, I guess it's not. You know, scenarios like Akira, you know, people thought that, you know, she hated Marin, everything pointed to her, but guess what, no, actually she was a big simp. So I'm very curious to see what happens if they do confront, you know, the creator of Hanio. Would he, you know, be praising Marin, or would he be, you know, kind of like looking at her in disgust? As well as, I'm just very happy to finally see Marin in this cosplay, because it has been hyped up, and we're finally there, boys. We finally got to the point where we get to see our girl Marin wear this cosplay, and I'm sure that she's gonna kill it, just like every single cosplay she wears. But I just want to see, you know, how his work paid off. I want to see how, you know, because Gojo has been very hard on himself this entire arc, and I think that once he wears, you know, we see Marin wear the cosplay, I think she's gonna absolutely love it, and just seeing her happy face will, you know, lighten up Gojo. Or maybe there's a point where, you know, she wears it and Gojo's like, I can fix this, and she goes, no, like, relax, it looks perfect, I love it, thank you so much. And I think that that will be a nice moment between these two characters where, you know, Gojo, he is his, you know, his worst enemy at the end of the day. You know, he always consistently, you know, tries to push himself to his hardest, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but he always tries to, you know, overwork himself just to make sure that everything's perfect. And I think that, you know, Marin appreciates that very dearly, but she also has to, like, you know, bring him down to reality a bit to make sure that he doesn't, you know, burn himself out. Just like the grandpa said, you know, you gotta be there to support him. And I like to think that, you know, there might be a scene later in the story where, you know, that does happen, where Gojo burns himself out, or he's burning himself up, but Marin puts her foot down and just goes like, listen, you need to relax, take some rest, you earned it, dude. Like, you're the GOAT, and you gotta stop being so hard on yourself. You know, I'm here for you, I will always be here for you to support you. Because in all honesty, I would like to see a moment, just a sweet little moment between these two, that, you know, similar to something like that. But overall, I really enjoyed this chapter, and I think that Fukuda has been doing a fantastic job with this entire arc so far. And I definitely think the next chapter will be a huge moment for Gojo, because finally he gets to relax and just have some reassurance, like, okay, I did my best, it looks great, Marin likes it, it was all worth it. You know, I think the next chapter will be a big moment for Gojo in that respect, as well as we finally get to see, you know, Marin finally wear the cosplay, because it's been a while and we've been anticipating it, you know, constantly. But with all that being said, what did you guys think about this week's chapter? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys thought it was alright? Whatever you guys thought, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end of the video, I really appreciate it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more My Dress Up Darling, as well as more anime and manga content in the near future. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.